So in today's video, I am going to be calling some of you out. Lovingly, of course. But all the same, I am noticing a clear and consistent pattern for many people who are on this journey of trying to manifest their desired outcome, their desired life. And the pattern that I am seeing is that we are missing the most fundamental part, the most crucial aspect to all of this. If we want to see a change in our world, if we desire a lasting change to our circumstances, this is the one thing that cannot be overlooked, cannot be compromised. And that is this. If you want to see that change in your world and in your life, it's going to cost you the self you are right now. You who is watching this video, who has a desire for this outcome, this person, abundance, whatever it may be, that version of you must change first. In today's video, I'm going to touch on the difference between those who successfully manifest their desired outcome, their dream life, those who don't, and the key differences in those two people. By the way, hi, I'm Missy Renee. And on this channel, we talk all things manifestation and the law of assumption. So if that's a topic that you want to learn more about, definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications. And if you enjoy my videos, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're interested in any of my resources, such as my coaching programs, workshops, or masterclasses, I got all the links to that down in the description box. So don't forget to check that out. So if you are here watching this video, it's safe to assume that you want to see a change to your world. You want your dream life. You want the freedom. You want the love of your life. You want the abundance. You want the peace of mind, the confidence, the nice house, your perfect dream body. If you're like most people, there are probably many things that you want to change. But there's one thing that is crucial, that is critical when it comes to making that kind of transformation. The fundamental difference between somebody who successfully manifests what they want and those that don't, those that do not see a change in their 3D are solely fixed on changing the outside. Their attention is on the circumstances out here. That person is on autopilot. They are not being observant and aware as to much else besides what is going on around them on the outside. That person is usually trying to manipulate the results. They're chasing signs. They're trying to force the outcomes that they want. They are entirely consumed with the external world and the focus being so much out here and not much else. Basically, this person is focused way more on trying to change the outside instead of focusing on that change from within first. This person thinks that they can effectively stay the same mentally, stay the same emotionally, hold the same identity, and somehow step into a whole new state and maintain that. It makes no sense when you take a moment to think about it, because the law of assumption states very clearly and very explicitly that if you want to see a change in your world, if you desire to see your circumstances be different from what they are currently, you must change first. You must be different. You must think different. You must react different than how you react and how you think right now. Because the truth that nobody wants to hear, but is still a truth regardless, is that you do not get what you want first. The outer world is consistently a response, a reflection of the inner world, your inner state. And the outer world only shifts after the inner state does. This is Law of Assumption 101, and yet I see people that are still very oblivious to this core concept. Conscious or not, they are taking these steps and approaches of somebody who is way too focused and fixed on trying to force a change to the outside before they have changed from within. And let's go ahead and break this down a little bit further, because I really want this message to land today. I really want to see those of you who may have been struggling to have that light bulb moment. So with that, let me ask you a question and be honest. If your dream life suddenly appeared today, if you received all your desires all at once right now, could the current version of you handle that? Could you maintain it? Could you hold it without fear? Could you live from that state without self-sabotage? Now, if the answer is no, don't worry, because that is where all of us have started. I want you to take a look around you and at the state of your life right now, because everything in your current reality, everything in your circumstances is a reflection of who you've been. your beliefs, your habits, your reactions, your conception of self or self-concept. Everything that is presently in your world right now is a direct result of who you have been internally. Your self-concept has been shaping your reality, quietly and consistently, as it always does. But this is the first thing that we need to change. This is the first thing that we need to realize in order to begin to take the necessary steps to that transformation of self that is required. Because if you want something radically different in your world, if you want things to be different in your world, you can't just tweak the surface. You can't just shift your mood for a little while. You have to evolve the identity that has been creating the world that you currently reside in. You cannot manifest abundance and wealth from a mindset of lack. You cannot manifest love while believing that you are unworthy or not a priority. You cannot manifest confidence while clinging to insecurities and old fears. And I know that I'm repeating myself, but I am going to continue to do so until this lands for good. Because what I want seared into your brain, never to leave and never to forget again, is this. You cannot enter and maintain a whole new state while clinging to the identity that created the old one, the old circumstances, the unwanted circumstances. You cannot serve two masters, as we often hear. You cannot put old wine into new wineskins. The version of you who is broke, afraid, doubtful, and settling for less cannot maintain the version of reality where you are thriving, where you are certain, when you are empowered, where you are abundant. Your dream life requires a dream version of you as the central avatar and as the occupant power in your reality. You have to match that first. And that means a release to the self that you've always known but cannot maintain what you desire to manifest. And though this sounds incredibly simple in theory and in concept, this is where we struggle the most. Because for most people, the vast majority of people, change is not something that comes easily. Change, for most people, is very uncomfortable. It's scary. It sucks. We have to contend with so many uncertainties and unknown factors, because when we talk about shedding the old state, we're talking about letting go of everything that was comfortable, that was familiar to you. It may be that you did not like the old version of you, but you're very comfortable with her. You know her inside and out. It's familiar, and it is so much easier to fall into the same patterns over and over again, even if it's from a state we don't want to occupy. Now, before we talk about how to really make those permanent changes and how to start really changing your concept of self, we got to talk about instant manifestation, aka instant gratification and the need for a quick fix. Now, I may get some flack for this part of the video, but I don't really care because, as I say often, I'm not here to tell people what they want to hear. I'm here to tell people what is going to help you and give you the best chance at your success, which means we need to set the record straight about this idea of instant change. Now, to be 1,000% clear, is it possible to radically transform yourself overnight? Technically speaking, yes, it is possible. But for the vast majority, and I mean the vast majority of people, this is an entirely unrealistic approach, especially if you are somebody new to the law, if you have wavering faith, or if you are double-minded, because as human beings, we are not inherently wired for that kind of change. So for the vast majority of people, the kind of change that I'm talking about in this video is not the change that happens overnight. As I mentioned, this is not just a quick change in our mood or a temporary change in our mood. One of the things that is absolutely required in this practice is the ability to be brutally honest with ourselves, even if it's what we don't want to hear. So that said, if you want that radical transformation that will create a permanent change in your world, don't go in with the expectation that that is going to happen overnight, which means you got to give up the idea of an instant fix. And the reason is simple. The instant fix mentality is not one that is sustainable for most. In most cases, it doesn't last, it's not a healthy approach, and it may actually wind up backfiring and taking you even longer because of the whiplash you will likely encounter from trying to take such broad sweeps so quickly. It's no different than going to the gym. As somebody who has never been to the gym before, you're probably not going to expect yourself to be able to run 10 miles and bench press 100% of your weight. That would probably severely hurt you, if not kill you. Instead, we would want to take a more gradual approach. We would start with something much lighter and work up to whatever level we want to be at. But the understanding is that it is the methodical and consistent approach that will not fail you. A lot of the times we fail to see the change we want to see because we are jumping from technique to technique, being very inconsistent in this practice, looking for that magical, all-encompassing spell that's going to radically change our life overnight. So do yourself a huge favor, ditch the instant gratification, ditch the manifest in 24 hours videos, and thank me later. Because if you want your change to be sustainable, if you want your manifestations to be lasting ones, to be permanent ones, we've got to play the long game here. We have to think in terms of consistently moving into that new state over and over until the new state feels more dominant and feels more real to you. Not trying to kill yourself by doing 1,000 different techniques and going balls to the wall, and then suffering from the inevitable ego backlash that follows. Ask me how I know. Because as the age-old saying goes, slow and steady wins the race. And I know that is not what we want to hear. When we are feeling pressed against time, when we are feeling desperate for a change in our world, we don't want to hear this. In fact, we want to find that magic wand that's going to change our life instantly. But you are doing yourself a great disservice if this is the mentality you are trying to take on. So how do we create that permanent change here? How do we approach this in order to make that lasting transformation? Well, in truth, it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. It's not going to be the same for absolutely everybody, because everyone is so unique and so different in how they approach this, in how they go to the end, in what feels most natural to them, what resonates for them. That might be sats or visualization. That might be affirmations that resonate. That might be inner conversations. But we want to practice bit by bit, getting ourselves out of the familiar same old in imagination. That means doing something different that you may not do in imagination. Start to allow yourself to broaden and expand your scope of what is possible for you in your imaginal acts. And really practice letting yourself feel into that, experience that. But most importantly, we have to be persistent with going back to that new state. If we fall out, if we experience a backlash, if it feels at times like it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, nonetheless, we do not give up here. You can think of your imagination like a radio, and each state of consciousness is a different frequency, a different channel, if you will. The music was always playing. You just needed to shift the dial to hear it. What we're doing here is no less different than that. You're tuning into a new channel and experiencing something new entirely. And as you continue to go back to that, as you continue to go to that new station, that new frequency, if you will, you're going to find that it's something that becomes much more familiar to you. Bit by bit, as you step back into that state over and over, you're going to grow accustomed to it. It's not going to feel so strange and alien and uncertain like it once used to. Like wearing in a new pair of shoes, after you have stepped in them enough, they're just going to feel completely natural to you. This is the inner work we hear so much about. Moving into that new state over and over and over until it begins to feel natural for you. But a requirement that comes with this is a need to drop the old story, that old state, those old fears. It requires choosing courage over comfort and familiar. It requires you to trust what your physical senses may not see in this moment. It requires saying goodbye to who you have been. And this is the path of transformation that most people don't talk about, because it's not an instant fix. It's not quick, but it is real, and it is lasting. So the question you need to ask yourself isn't, how do I get my desires? The question you need to ask yourself is, am I willing to become the person who already has it? And to best discover this state and this new version of you, ask yourself some questions. Who is the version of me that already has the life that I want? What does she believe about herself? What does he no longer tolerate? What does she do every day without fail? What kind of energy does he carry into every room? Once you have answered those questions and gotten very clear on the version of you who you desire to be, Start living from that version. In imagination, you need to be the person that you desire to be. Remember, imagination is your creative power. This is how you can experience yourself to be anyone that you want to be without obstacles, without condition, without anything telling you no. Live as the version of you who has everything you want. Speak like that person. Move like that person. Decide like that person. Hold boundaries. Say yes and no from that new self-concept. This isn't pretending. That's stepping into your new truth, your new state, before it hardens into fact. Because once you are, and once you do this, once you make that commitment to that new you, that new version of yourself, and really prioritizing being that version of you, when that new version of you becomes your number one priority, life has no choice but to mirror that back to you. Because your reality doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. So be the one who has it. Be the one who is it. Be that girl or guy. Have a burning desire to change yourself that matches the burning desire you want to see in your reality. And watch how the world and everything in it reshapes to match that new you. And it will happen like that. And what you will notice if you continue to occupy that new state, if you put the focus on changing you, on changing self, if you commit to the priority of your inner state being the thing that you need to change, you will see results, and you will see them quickly. But if we continue to stay in autopilot, if we continue to do the same old every single day without fail, yet somehow expecting wildly new results, that is the definition of insanity. But what you will notice if you prioritize you and changing you, instead of trying to force the circumstances to change, if you direct your attention inward instead of focusing on everything out here and being reactionary and just going through the same notions, not only is this the fastest way to change your world, but the only way to sustain it. And your ego may very well fight back on this, because your ego does not want to change. Your current conception of self does not want to change. It is not something that comes naturally to us. It is absolutely a defense mechanism. And yes, it is so much easier to just go through the same notions and same habits that we've always done. But this is never the way that we can see our manifestations unfold in this world, and certainly not the way to keep it permanently. But once you commit to the change in you and changing yourself, changing your beliefs and assumptions, daring to imagine as boldly as you can what you would do and what you would be from that new state, the one where you are confident, the one where you are assured, the one where you are adored, respected, prioritized. When you put yourself into the shoes of that version of you, your outer world will have no choice but to reflect that. And that is exactly how you manifest anything you want and keep it around for good. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope this helped to give you some inspiration and some motivation. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in checking out any of my resources, I've got my links down below to my coaching programs, workshops, masterclasses, my blog, my podcast, my social links. Got a ton of great resources down in the description box, so don't forget to check that out. Also, be sure to check out the other videos on this channel. Be sure to check out my Manifestation Fundamentals playlist. Each video is a different topic, but it all talks about how to manifest the best life ever. So until we meet next time, you guys, as always, please take care, be well, happy manifesting, guys.